of free medical care and so on and so forth, and the environment. He allowed that pipe that was coming in from the Dakotas up until about a month and a half before the election. Smart guy, waiting there, right? He stops that, and then just so that he could appear as a good guy for the environment, and then after Trump gets in, Trump gets all the bad publicity because, of course, he does what we knew he was going to do, and if it had been Hillary who had won those elections, she would have done the same thing, and we have no doubt about what Hillary would have done. Okay, I got 2 minutes left. Just go by, look it up. It's still, you can still find it on YouTube how she was laughing and applauding when poor Gaddafi was being killed. You know, I don't care if you're a supporter or not of Gaddafi. I'm not really a supporter of Gaddafi, man, but to be, laughing and applauding when a man is getting killed the way he was, that's really sick. You know, you wouldn't tell me that Hillary Clinton was better than this assassin over here right now. At least this guy is right now meeting with Kim Jong, the president of the People's Democratic Republic of Korea. He says he has 5 strategies for Venezuela. I'm sure the main strategy is to put pressure on them, intimidate them, and try to get Venezuela to accept his golf courses and so on and so forth. If it were Hillary in there, they'd be troops in there already slaughtering people in Venezuela. So again, I urge you, please, and if you don't go along with everything I said, or anything I said, it's great. You don't have to go along with anything that I said right now. Right? Okay, Mara, you don't have to agree with me. But what we have to agree on is that we have to look for ways of getting the agenda of working people into the White House and as much influence into Congress. And we're not going to do it, unfortunately, for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party and the Republican parties both come from the same seat. We should remember that. Thank you.
Jeff Mackler, who is actually a candidate for President of the United States, and he has the endorsement European endorsement. This year they'll be a flyer. They're going to have a campaign rally out in California on August 18th, and Mundia Abu-Jamal is going to be speaking by phone, and Alice Walker is going to be speaking, and Robbie Mirapole is going to be speaking, and Cindy Sheehan, who you probably remember, her son was killed in the Afghanistan war. And also they have Heather Bradford running for vice president. So Jeff Mackler has been an activist, prominent activist in the United States since the anti-war movement. Before that, in the Teachers Union, he has been. He's now the National Secretary of Socialist Action, which is a member of the part of the United Secretariat of the Fourth International, so they're part of the international organization. So he's also the director of the Mobilization to Free Mumia Abu-Jamal, who I'm sure we'll talk about Mumia's case a little bit after Jeff speaks. I want to welcome Jeff back.
Well, I have a few minor disagreements with the previous speakers. But the first was our friend from the Green Party said you don't have to agree with everything I said. My opinion is you have to agree with everything I said. If you're going to vote social. So it's a minor difference. So I'm going to tell you everything, I believe, in 17 minutes. The United States spends the second largest amount of money on elections in the world, second only to India, which spent $8 billion. In the 2016 election, the United States only spent $6.6 billion in the presidential election. Does anybody have a contribution for that amount to make my campaign? But if you did, if Rockefeller or the DuPonts and the Mellons were in the room and said, sure, here's your $6.6 billion, do you think that any one of the major corporate media would cover my campaign? You think they would give me equal time, even if I supposedly paid for it? Is there one corporate media in the entire country that covers the campaigns of revolutionary socialists, the anti-war movement, and all the other struggles? Trump's Secretary of State, Ross Tillerson, said that Donald Trump was a fucking moron. How many of you heard that? He was coming out of a National Security Administration meeting, and Trump proposed a 100-fold increase in nuclear weapons and left the room. And Trump, who was, Tillerson, who was Secretary of State, said the guy's a fucking moron. But he's not a fucking moron. He's a representative of the ruling class of America. And it's divided into two wings, Democrats and Republicans. Every Democrat voted for the war budget, $1 trillion a year. Virtually every Democrat voted for Trump's tax grant of $1 trillion to the major corporations which are jointly owned, $1.5 trillion in tax cuts to corporations which are jointly owned by the Democratic and Republican Party. Tillerson was asked by Trump to be the Secretary of State because he represents the largest multi-billion-dollar oil corporation in the world, ExxonMobil. Do you think for a second that he or any other Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense or any other elected official would challenge the power of the oil industries? Central to every war today, in addition to all the other imperialist aims, is oil. They are in the Middle East to take over the entire place for oil and impose every dictator they want, whether it be Syria or Libya or whatever. They're in Venezuela because it has the largest oil reserves in the world, bipartisan. They are in Libya for the oil. They are in Latin America for the oil and the resources. 10 million people died in the Congo in the last 10 years because of US-backed armies that invaded to steal the resources of one of the richest nations and natural resources in the world, from Rwanda to the other nation. Iran is rich in oil. That's why it's embargoed. That's why the United States, in a bipartisan war, funded both sides in the Iran war for 10 years that killed 1 million Iranians and 800,000 Iraqis. And at that time, the hero of the United States was Saddam Hussein, who was the president of the country. The United States and all of the issues that we face, and you're in this room today, racism, poverty, mass incarceration, death-defying, life-threatening global warming, imprisonment of 7.1 million people, the highest number and percentage in the world, a majority Black, Latino, and Native American, racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia, and every student debt, every single issue you can name. It's not an accident that's going to be remedied by a capitalist politician, Democrat or Republican or Green. It's inherent in the functioning of the system. The reason we're in crisis today is because the world capitalist system is in an international crisis, including the United States. And the resolution of that crisis in every nation on earth is at the expense of working people. They have, as Marx said, inherent in the system, the law of the tendency of the rate of profit to decline, and in order to reverse that profit decline, which is universal in the capitalist system, they take it out of the hides of working people. They take it out of Social Security, health care, and every social service, public education, and the environment, and every other way they can exploit and oppress working people with all of their time-honored tunes: racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-immigrant prejudice, and there's no Democrat or Republican that makes a difference. Not one, ever, in my life. The Green Party states that all the wars in the United States for 60 years have been wars of aggression. Well, of course. That's what capitalism is, imperialism is like. all the wars, including World War I and World War II, that go back 100 years. King Leopold murdered 12 million people in the Congo, and he was a weaker imperialist overseer. But the powerful ones killed tens of millions in all of Africa the first time in human history. The population of the earth was depopulated. They were brought here as slaves, during which time they slaughtered the Native American people. That's inherent in the functioning of the capitalist system. It can't be reformed. The attack on civil liberties, the McCarthy era, the murder of the Rosenbergs, the Vietnam War that killed 4 million Vietnamese, the incarceration of an innocent man like Mumia Abu-Jamal is symbolic of the entire nature of the prison industrial racist system. Every evil you can think of has nothing to do, zero, with an individual president of the United States. It has to do with the needs of capitalist parties. And the idea that we can characterize one of them as the lesser of two evil is false to the core, if you're a socialist and a Marxist. I'm a revolutionary socialist. I fight for every reform that benefits working people. I led the struggle against the House Un-American Activities Committee for decades. How many of you ever heard of World Fellowship of Faiths? They have a table outside. It was owned by Willard Uphouse, who was a big Presbyterian minister who was put to jail for a year because he didn't turn over his guest list at a summer resort. I was arrested 9 times in the civil rights movement, including in the House Un-American Activities Committee that was run by Southern racist bigots who were the junior partner in the Democratic Party with the Northern Liberals. The Democratic Party's origin is the party of slavocracy, the party of the Klan, the party of the White Citizens Council, and it always formed in elections an alliance with the Northern Liberal Republicans, like the Kennedys. John F. Kennedy's father was a Nazi sympathizer. That's why they had to bring him home from his ambassadorship in England, because he was having meetings with Hitler. Because Hitler and capitalism were compatible with the multi-billionaire Kennedy family. I was a leader of the teachers union and fought against all the encroachments on public education. Today, education has been cut in a bipartisan way by both parties everywhere. There isn't a single issue. Joe Biden, he's come under a bit of fire for being a Southern racist. He was partners with the Falbuses and Eastlands and George Wallaces in the South. They were the Democratic Party wing of the party. And any time the Democrats won an election, they picked a Northern liberal and a Southern racist bigot. Until Nixon said to disgruntled Democrats like Wallace, we'll take you in our party. And the Democrats were left without any racist bigots. So they converted to another strategy. They ran racist bigots for president, like Jimmy Carter or Al Gore and every other Southerner, in order to try to suck a few votes from the former slavocracy. And when that wasn't enough, they joined again with the Democratic Party, which is riddled with social conservatives, quote, racist bigots, reactionaries, people who are called blue dog Democrats, that is so angry at the civil rights issue that they turn blue with rage. The AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, she supported in her election every Democrat that ran an election, blue dog Democrats included. The same thing with every one of the DSAers who ran as Democrats. They all supported each other. They supported the party of racism, bigotry, and so on. Howie Hawkins, in this leaflet that I just got a few minutes ago from the Green Party, says, of the $1 trillion war budget, he says it's only about $770 million. But if you count the CIA, secret wars, and others, it's way over $1 trillion. He's for cutting the military budget by 50%. He wants to leave $500 billion which he says is sufficient to defend our national security. What national security? Does it defend the national security of the American people? It defends the national security interest in whose name the United States invades every nation on earth. When they asked the former Treasury head, Alan Greenspan, why the hell did you guys invade Iran in 1953? He said, you don't understand. The 900-pound gorilla in the room was that Iran was the largest resource of oil in the world. That's a national security interest for the United States. So they overthrew the Iranian government for oil. They want to overthrow the Venezuelan government for oil. It's bipartisan. Bernie Sanders or others notwithstanding. Bernie Sanders' record is only 98% support for the Democratic Party. 98% of everything they've done. And every military budget, and virtually every war. He might say, I'm against this war or that war. But Bernie Sanders never set foot in an anti-war demonstration. My party built the demonstrations of millions of people in this country that said, bring the troops home now. Now. And the same thing with Nicaragua, and the same thing with Cuba, and every other war. Out now, not 50% out now. 100% out now. I was on a 1-hour radio podcast 2 days ago, and the Trump supporter who was interviewing me said, what do you do if you're elected president of the United States on your first day in office? I said, well, the first thing I do is I release every prisoner in the country. And those that needed serious rehabilitation, 7 million people are in prison, I give them the finest free medical care in the world. And I give that right to every American. Yes, I'm for single payer as a transitional method, but single payer is based on private for-profit capitalist corporations, which taxpayers have to pay for. I'm for taxing the hell out of the rich and granting free medical care for everyone, free abortion for everyone, on demand. Not one of the candidates says that. They all have qualifications for their free abortion system. It's the same thing with every issue that we confront. If you don't accept the proposition that it's the capitalist, rapacious, profit-first system, you can't have a serious discussion about politics. You're relegated to live in a Truman Show world. How many of you know what Truman Show is? A Jim Carrey movie, where the directors create a fake world where everybody in it is a performing actor for the Hollywood director, except the person, Jim Carrey, whose name is Truman. They create for us every day of our lives a Truman Show world. And now we have 24 candidates who are all promising that they're going to do better, that they're going to somehow or other be the lesser evil that's going to challenge Trump.
Jeff, Michael, I hate to say it, she told you twice already. You passed your time. I was respectful. He was respectful, and like.
She just passed me 30 seconds. I appreciate that. So I'll finish up.
Okay, then I apologize.
30 seconds.
I apologize. Take my 30 seconds.
Okay. So, I've spent a lifetime participating in every struggle for humanity and every reform. But at the bottom, I spent a lifetime trying to organize the mass social movements to change the consciousness, to win over the majority of the working class for the abolition of capitalism and the institution of a socialist society where the wealth of the people, the wealth of the nation is owned and determined and controlled for the first time in human history by the majority, the vast majority. Thanks.
Okay, now we'll have, there are several housekeeping items I think Marty or Jeff wants to take up before we move to questions from you guys or comments from you guys. So I wanted to publicize that they are having this rally out in San Francisco, and there'll probably be similar rallies in New York. And I think they have a literature table over here with some pamphlets and so on for sale. And they have a newspaper, tell them about.
Right.
Jeff?
Subscription is $20 a year for a wonderful newspaper. This is our election issue that lays out our basic program, and it costs $1 an issue to pick one up. And we have a mailing list if you'd like to know more about us and participate in the campaign or just receive information on our forums. Please sign the mailing list, and thanks.
Pass it around.
Just pass it around, Jeff.
Okay.
Could we have some interaction with some of the panelists?
Yeah, we're going to go to that.
What it's all about.
Yeah, the next part of it, we still have over an hour. So we have, we're going to have discussion, and here are the ground rules. I'm very bad at keeping time, but I'll do my best. 3-minute comments from the floor. You have a question for anybody on the panel, or 2 or 3 questions, and I'll take a staff. People will speak, and I'll do my best to give you 3 minutes. And then anybody on the panel, unless you direct it at one person, anybody can answer the questions. And if people on the panel want to discuss, they can do that too. It's an open time. So can I take a stack? Okay, George. Susan. Okay.
Mara.
Amanda. Professor. Dave. Okay. In the back. Ralph, okay. Anybody else? You had your hand up over here?
This one has some.
Okay, so we'll start with George. Okay, 3 minutes for questions.
It will be shorter than 3 minutes. I just want to know, Jeff, if you're running as a candidate, are you a write-in vote, and particularly in states like New York where it's hard to get on the ballot, or are you going to be on the ballot? Let me just add a quick comment. I don't think anybody takes seriously a candidate that does not actually show up on the ballot. So in that case, if you are a write-in vote, practically nobody's going to know about it, and that leaves you between the choice of the Democrats, Republicans, or the Greens. If you're on, I would vote for you, but most likely you won't be, and therefore I'll vote for a Green candidate.
Let's have another question.
You don't want to just answer if you're at the bell, or you want me to take a question?
I'll answer your question, sure.
Okay, so I'll go with, on the ballot, so we'll take all these and then.
I'm gonna answer that directly, then just not to get lost in what
I
I'm.
think so too, Joe.
But it's gonna get complicated.
Just go ahead and answer it, and I'll go to the next person.
I'd rather do it in the summary so everybody can
All
participate.
right, okay. Okay, Susan?
The president is a homicidal criminal and needs to be brought up on charges. Good. No matter what happens and no matter what we vote for, there's a list of that has to be investigated, and there have to be consequences in every nation for this kind of criminal activity, including putting children in cages, and all the way down to using his position for his family's enrichment, which is the emolument clauses, international and national. So there is a call out for impeachment and to start an impeachment inquiry in the House of Representatives. You know, the House does the inquiry, and then the trial goes to the Senate. Unless the whole right wing decides to